If you guys are making the mistakes that I mentioned in this video, you could be harming your crested gecko or worse. So let's fix that pretty fast. What's up everybody? How's it going? I'm here with Nubby. She's like literally the most chill crested gecko. That's why she's just gonna sit with me today, because to be honest with you, it's like no work having to hold her because she just chills. So we are going to be getting into some of the top mistakes that people that own crested geckos, especially new people, but sometimes older people, not older people, experienced people that have had geckos, keep them wrong. So if you don't want to make any mistakes, watch the whole video until the end, and you should be good with a lot of the common mistakes that a lot of people make with crested geckos, like Nubby. But Nubby didn't have those mistakes, so she's doing good. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. Briefly, I also wanted to mention, got some new caging behind me for the adults. You guys want to see the video of these? These are all new. Those you guys will see very shortly, but super thrilled, happy with these. These make my life so much easier. They fit better in my space, just perfect. So subscribe if you guys want to see that. That's coming, but I'm still finishing the rest of the wall. So right now I think I have 5 rows of 5, so I've got 25 in. They're not fully filled yet, and I'm going to be adding another, I think 15, so we're going to be having 40 across this wall. That's going to be huge for me personally, but just in general it's going to be awesome. So make sure you guys subscribe for that, because you're not going to want to miss that. Now we're going to keep moving on with the video.
My name is Jeff.
So one of the biggest things that I see, and the first thing we're going to talk about, is keeping baby crested geckos in too big of an enclosure. So I like to use 6-quart shoe totes. It's kind of dirty right now, I need to wash it, but I basically include a plant, a food and water dish, a paper towel hide, like a little one, and then this. It's basically just gutter guard that you can cut up into pieces and make little things that they can walk on and climb on. Super great. I put those in all the baby tanks as well. Basically with babies, you want to keep them in that shoe tote until they're 8 to 10 grams roughly. They will get too stressed out if you put them in a big enclosure. They don't grow as fast, they don't eat as well because they're nervous. So you basically just want to keep the babies in a small container where they feel safe, so they'll eat and grow quickly. Think of it this way: smaller equals more secure and more hidden, better for them. You want a smaller tank. 6-quart shoe totes work great until they're 8 to 10 grams. Like I said, I think these are literally like $1.50 each, and you don't have to drill the holes like I did. You can just put 2 screens in, one on each side if you wanted to do that. You don't have to do the holes like I did. So yes, mistake number 1, have your babies in the appropriate size container. Don't use too large of a container. I'm gonna put Nubby away real quick. I don't want her to get overheated or stressed or anything, because it is laying season. But the next issue we're going to talk about is improper humidity. So basically, too wet you'll have mold, too dry you'll have suck shed. You want right in the middle. So you're shooting for 60 to 80% humidity. Now what does that mean? A lot of people think that 60 to 80% humidity means you have to leave your humidity in between 60 to 80% all of the time. That is not true. Not true. No, that's bad. You basically want to have humidity that's 60 to 80%, have it dry out for the most part, and then remist them. The way you do that is by getting it wet, letting it dry out, re-wetting it, and remisting them. That is the best way to do it. Remember, you're shooting for 60 to 80% for a time, let it dry, and then do it again. You don't want it to be super soaking wet, and you don't want it to be super dry, because like I said, mold issues or suck shed issues. But that's how I would do it, so don't have that be you. The next issue is improper airflow. Your geckos need airflow just like you do. If you have stagnant, humid air, you're going to have mold and respiratory issues. So you want cross ventilation. Make sure that you have cross ventilation. Some people don't think about having cross ventilation, and boom, then they have an issue. You want air moving. I even recommend personally having a fan going. I also have a fan in my reptile room that just oscillates and moves air around. I think that's great. I also have a dehumidifier and air conditioner and all that to move air around and make the air the right temperature and all that. It's a little bit extra, but for what we're talking about now, just have some airflow, have some circulation, have cross ventilation in a tank. If you notice, a lot of these have holes on this side and this side. I need air to go in and I need air to go out. Cross ventilation will work very well. That's definitely something you need to have. Big old mistake number 4 that you do not want to have is the wrong temperature. You're basically shooting for, the ideal spot is 72 to 78. Anything in the 80s is really too hot and could spell disaster. So if your room or the room you're keeping them in is lower than, I would say, 70, so if you're in the 60s or something like that, maybe a small wattage heat bulb, but you'd also have to make sure you're not crisping your gecko. You don't want to have Kentucky Fried Gecko, you know what I'm saying? Kentucky Fried Gecko would not be fun for anyone. Make sure if you do some sort of heat light or something that produces heat, you want there to be enough humidity and a spot for the geckos to get away. That way the geckos don't have to be in the heat. But if, you know, I would only do that if you had to. Let's say you live in the basement or you live in a spot that's cold and you need to have the temperature up a little bit, that's okay. But again, you have to watch it and be careful and monitor it and test it out before you put the gecko in and subject them to it. You don't want to just like experiment on them. You'd rather have the tank set up and then experiment before the gecko actually goes in. So always remember that wrong temps can be dangerous. The ideal spot is 72 to 78. I understand sometimes people get warmer. That's why I have an AC unit in my reptile room, because it gets too warm. So I've got to figure out a way to cool it down. The fans help move air. Humidifier takes out too much humidity if I need it, and then if I need more, I'll just spray more. Not enough hiding spots is number 5. You don't want them to feel like, you wouldn't want to just sit in a glass box and have somebody watch you. That would be weird. You wouldn't want that. So just like your gecko, give them dark spots in their tank, give them plants, give them cork, give them paper towel rolls, give them hides, give them things where they can go and feel safe and secure. That's the best thing for your gecko. So don't just put it in the tank and just have it sit there. That's not going to be good for your gecko. They're going to be stressed. They want to hide. You want to make sure that they feel safe in their enclosure. So for number 6, that mistake is basically not cleaning properly. So the way that I would do this personally is you spot clean pretty much every day, every once a week, whatever you want to say. Do a quick cleanup once a week of their tank, and then once a month you do a deep clean. So clean out the plant at least. Sometimes you've got to do it more, especially with babies if they're stepping in their food and walking in it. But for the most part, it's once a week you do like a quick little brief clean out, but once a month you do a nice deep clean where you're spraying with vinegar or whatever products you use on your animal stuff. You use that. You're deep cleaning the plants, replacing anything that needs to be replaced. But at the same time, again, I replace paper towels, paper towel rolls, food and water dishes way more often than once a month, and I would even say once a week. I'm doing it multiple times a week for most of the geckos. Some of the adults don't dirty their tank as much, like some of the males don't dirty it as much as like the babies do, but the babies will typically make a mess out of their tank, walk in their food, put it on the plants, and in that case I would just wash it more than once a month. But ideally once a week you're doing a quick clean of the tank, and once a month you're doing a deep clean of all the tanks, obviously. So number 7 is leaving old food in the tank. You don't want to leave food in the tanks. Don't leave old food caps or old food in the tanks. That is not good for the geckos at all. I say we grab out another gecko and then we'll do number 8. I'm hoping I don't get pooped on, bit, or anything like that. So let me grab another one. Let me see who I want to grab here. This is Clark. Clark is a big boy. Nice spots on him. Very pretty gecko. He's usually not super chill. He's alright, but he's not like the most chill gecko. So we're gonna see how this goes and how long he stays out. But number 8 is ignoring changes in their stool. What does that mean? Basically, some people will see that their geckos suddenly can't poop normally, and they just are like, ah, it's fine, doesn't really matter. That's a mistake. You want to watch and monitor stools and poops, and if you see anything weird, take them to the vet, get them checked out, make sure they're good, because that is definitely a big mistake that some people make with their geckos. I kind of talk crap about Clark not being chill, but Clark is kind of chilling right now. So yeah, number 8, monitor their poops. Now this one I literally see all of the time, and it's handling too soon. If you just get a gecko, minimum I would say is 1 week that you have to have that gecko in your home, in the tank, just left alone before you handle. Some people are trying to handle every single day right after you get them. Let them adjust. If it was me, I would let your animal sit, which I know it sounds crazy, but for 2 weeks. If it was me, I mean, you could do it for a week, that would probably be okay, especially with cresteds, but if you just want to be safe, I would let them adjust for 2 weeks and then start handling. If they're small babies, unless you're cleaning, I would not really handle them until they're about to get out of the 6-quart shoe tote and you're about to upgrade them. That's probably when I would start. Are you gonna jump off my face? I knew it. that's when I would start handling. When they're about 10 grams or so, which is, like I said, is when I would move them out of their small tote. That's when you can pretty much start handling more regularly, just because they're so small. You don't want to injure them, or if they jump and hit something, you know, I don't like to do it. And if I do have to handle small babies, I sit on the floor on carpet and I handle them that way. That way, if they do jump or they fall or whatever, not fall, but you know what I'm saying, if they jump off your hand and land on the ground, they'll be on carpet, so it's not a big deal or anything like that. I'm gonna put him back because he just tried to jump on my head twice, and I'm not trying to have that happen. Another huge mistake I see relatively often is cohabbing geckos. More experienced people that have done this a lot, you can do it, but there's a trick to it, not a trick to it, but you have to watch and be more attentive to certain things, like the weight of the geckos, the size of the geckos, the space you're giving all of the geckos. So the cohabbing, if you're just going to make it easy, they don't need it. They don't really benefit from it. I don't think there's a benefit, or you're giving them enrichment by being with more geckos. I don't really think that's a thing, because they're solitary animals for the most part. Can you keep them in breeding groups? Yes. Is it a little bit more difficult and you've got to monitor different things? Yes. So for the sake of this video, cohabbing, I wouldn't do it, especially if you're new. I just wouldn't do it. Another mistake I see is no supplements. You're not giving them calcium, you're not giving them extra vitamins, you're not giving them the calcium with D3 essentially, but that's something that they all need. It definitely helps them out. I like to mix it in with my food. I've actually recently just started mixing bugs into my food with extra calcium, obviously, but I have some picky eaters, so that's kind of another tip or trick I'm just going to slide in, is blending up the food in a blender when you're making the Pangea. Having the bugs in there too, that definitely works to get your picky eaters to eat bugs. So that's another mistake that I see sometimes. The next mistake I see, which kind of relates to monitoring their poop, is ignoring signs of illness. So if you're seeing sunken eyes, super skinny, they can't seem to gain weight, lethargic, acting weird, any of those signs, take them to the vet, just get them checked out. People say reptile vets are expensive. They are, but like when you're talking about a dog compared to something else, it's usually, it depends on where you're located, honestly, and what vet you're around, and if they're a specialist or whatever. So just make sure that if you see an issue, you take them to the vet, which there's going to be another topic about that in a minute. Take them to the vet if you notice any signs of illness, sunken eyes, goop coming out of eyes, nose, any holes, if there's any goop or anything weird coming out, go get them checked out. Do not ignore signs of illness. Like I said, to go with that, the final mistake that I see is not having a vet plan. You don't want to have, especially the amount of animals that I have, or just animals in general, and not know where to take them if you have an issue. It's always better to find it out. Trust me, if you have an issue, you're going to thank me later on. Knowing where you're going to take them, knowing the vet, having a plan to take your gecko, reptile, animal, whatever, to a specific vet. That way you know if there's anything wrong, I take them straight to the vet. It's this vet. Super easy. That is definitely something that I don't think is talked about enough, is having a vet plan ready. You always need to be ready. I don't know if you guys have been longtime viewers of my channel. If you have, I love you, appreciate you. Like, share, subscribe, obviously, all that fun stuff. You're just helping your boy out. It's free, you know, just do it. Hit the little bell thing. That way you're notified every single time I post. Anyway, if you guys were longtime viewers of the channel, you probably remember Napoleon. I got him from Pangea. Shortly after I got him, quarantined him, and then tried to breed him, he had hemipene troubles. So I had to take him to the vet, and if I didn't have a vet ready or by me, that would have been even more stressful, but I did, and I knew where I was going to take him. Helped me a ton. It was a lot of stress relief off of me, because I got to just take him there, drop him off. He got one of his, actually he had to have both of his hemipenes removed. No, just one. No, both. He had to have both of his hemipenes removed, so, you know, it is what it is, but at least he lived. He's at his new home and doing well as far as I know. So yeah, it's super important to have a vet plan, because you need one. You will eventually need one at some point in your animal's life. You'll need to take them to the vet more than likely. And that's it. Like I said, if you guys want to see this build coming, it's coming. It's just taking me a little bit longer because you guys know I do everything myself. So yeah, it's taken a little bit longer, but it is what it is. That video is on the way. This video was in the meantime, and I also have to show you guys a few things in the fish room. There's just so much stuff going on. You guys are gonna have a bunch of content, especially when all this stuff gets done. That's kind of taking up a lot of my time. The fish room took up a bunch of time. this project is taking a bunch of time. I mean, these take a minute to make and get ready, so you know, it is what it is. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, comment on this video if it helped you or if you've made any of these mistakes. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace out. Oh yeah, side note, I have Leachy eggs hopefully hatching soon, and I just had my very first Eury eggs, fertile Eury eggs, laid last night. So hopefully those will be hatching soon too. Obviously it's going to take a little bit more time than the Leachy eggs, but the Leachy eggs have been cooking, and I'm hoping that very, very soon they'll be hatching, or the first batch will hatch. So far we have 4 eggs. She's due to lay anytime if she's going to lay again. So we might have 6 eggs. Who knows, we might even get more than that, but super excited. Lots of stuff coming. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the freaking next one. Okay, bye.